So today we're going to be using our large 12 by 18 paper, and we're going to be making some leaves and doing what's called a watercolor resist. So I've got leaf templates. You can also draw some of your own leaves. And then what we're going to be using is crayon and then watercolor in order to make this really cool resist. What does that mean, resist? Well, it means that the crayon, as you guys know, is like very waxy. And it's kind of waterproof. So when you put water on top of it and with a little bit of color on it, it's not going to stick. It's kind of like what I call like the umbrella. So it will touch everything on the paper, the paint will, but wherever the crayon is, it's going to go, and not want to stick there. So it's really neat that if there's ever anything and you don't have a Sharpie that you just don't want to be the paint to take over it, you could do a resist. So you can use it with the crayons, or I use it with Sharpie so you can really see it through that. All right, so on our papers, you're gonna have this giant thing. I want you to first put your name and your teacher code, right? So I'm gonna write TC because I wanna see your teacher code. And once you're done with that, you flip it over. Good. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is I have at your tables a tray. And in the tray, I've got lots of different type of, leaves, and then you can also draw your own leaves. Some of these are giant, some of them are a lot shorter and smaller. I have a variety of different leaves and different leaf patterns, and I can always come around and pass out some additional ones, if you're really going, I really want to do something like that. All right, so what I do is I do it one at a time. You can have a leaf where it's right in the middle. You can have a leaf where you see it only coming from the top. You could have where you only see part of the back of it, or it facing this way and some of it out of a corner. It's really up to you. So place it where you really want to. I'm gonna put mine here. Hold down the tracing, template, and then you just trace. You'll notice as I'm working around tracing the template, I'm constantly holding where I'm going to go next. So that way it doesn't really shift or move. I lean my pencil as well up against this, and that's what helps me be able to trace it. So you're not trying to trace around it, you want to lean your pencil into this. So it should feel nice and easy, kind of like you're leaning on a wall, you're leaning your pencil on this. And then you take it away. So you can trace several different leaves on here, or you can draw some leaves, and you can do them different sizes as well. So I know a lot of us like to watch Art for Kids Hub. He's awesome. And one of his cool tricks that I, really liked and picked up from one of his videos is you draw what looks to be like a branch, like this, right? It's just a line, and you kind of add these off of it. Starting at the bottom where the stem would be, all he does is he just draws around what he did, and it makes a beautiful leaf, just like that. You could do another one, maybe I want a smaller one here and I just want to leave it this way, and I could draw around it. So leaves are all different shapes, they're different colors, everything. So wherever you want it to be, again, you can draw your own, or you can use any of the templates. If you don't like the roundness and you want some sharp, you could do the same thing. Make sure that you've got an evener number, because otherwise it just looks like you're missing part of your leaf, and you could do the corners of it just like that. I know my pencil is kind of breaking here, but that's okay. I like to show you I use different things too. So take your time, fill up your whole paper, and for the most part, and then I'll show us the next step. All right, so once you get this part all filled out of your paper, the next thing I want you to do is add in these lines that we had. So just think, it doesn't have to be much. You can make it wavy, and you can have a just simple line like this, or you can have wherever each of those other parts are, you can have it branch off like this. There's really no wrong way, okay? So just kind of make it your own. It could be bland and blank. You could have many different ones or not. See, nice and simple. So once that part is done, so the first thing we did is we traced everything, drew our own. Next we added in these lines. The next part after that is we're going to use crayon because we want to make the resist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose colors, and it could be any colors you want. You can blend them, you know, where you have warms. You can use anything that you prefer. Remembering our butterflies that we did, you can also add in, you know, some of those same color families. But I want to see some good coloring. So what I mean by good coloring is a lot of times I really like to outline where the outside, you know, is of my project items here, right? So I'm outlining my leaf, nice and dark. I'm pushing the crayon. Crayons are meant to be able to be pushed lightly or dark. What I mean by that is I can push hard or I can push light. And these make different colors with the same crayon. You could go from going really hard to medium pushing to light, and you get this really cool effect. And I think that stands out really nicely. Just like we practiced with oil pastels, crayons are a really great way to do that too. So if I push hard here, I could then go in and I could color lighter, and it makes a whole different look to it. I could even go in over some of that. Remember, broken crayons still color. And I could add some yellow on top of some of these other places, and I can make a really cool transition, going from one color to another. Take that orange back over it, and I could just kind of do little circles or not. You don't need to spend a lot of time coloring in. I just want to see that you're not going like this and being done, because that would make me crazy. So take your time, add in those colors in your leaves. You could do opposite colors. It's really up to you. All right, so now, once you are done with your crayon and also with, you know, just making sure you get some colors and some nice coloring, the next thing we're gonna work towards is our watercolor. So here's my tray, and I will open up my watercolor spot here, as you can see, and this is dry. Now the name watercolor is you're painting with water. So when you're taking these nice paintbrushes, these hold a lot of water on them. I don't want to see you going in and scraping and trying to pick up chunks, because that's not how this paint works. This paint works by painting water. Now on the back of the paint tray here, you can always mix up. Like I can show you this little tiny bit of stuff right here turns into a ton of blue. I mean, it literally, I could probably fill up half my paper just using this tiny little spot. Now I don't always play in the background of this, you know, to mix colors, because look, it kind of spreads, it gets a little yucky and it'll drip everywhere. But I wanted to show you that later when we mix colors, that's where we'll practice. But for now, first thing you always do is you want to just use water and you're going to just drip it in. Drip it into each of the colors that you want to wake up. Okay, so this brush does a nice job. It holds a lot of water, as you can see. And I mean, I'm really not going to be using black or brown today. I don't want to really use those colors, but I wanted to show you. So I'm going back again and I'm going to add some more water because it starts drinking up that water. And it takes a little bit to wake up certain colors. Some colors, you know, need a lot more water. Like look at my blue. It's almost drink it all up. I need to add more. So we are painting in puddles of water. That's what we're painting in. So if you find that a color is starting to go away, then I want you to start adding in more color. So I'm going to slide this here. This is going to be in the middle of your table, but for now, I want you to be able to see me apply the color in the paint. So the first thing that you'll notice is I still have a little bit of purple from adding the drops in here. I'm going to just ballerina toe, like very gently, have my brush drink up that blue. I just barely touched it, and look how much water is already coming in the paint already on here, right? I'm gonna grab more water, go to my purple, and now I'm gonna place that on here. So you are painting with water, touching the blue, it gets nice and dark and pigmented, right? I might touch the green here and add some of that nice bright color. If I really want, rinse my brush and then I can dry it on here if I wanted to on the sponge, right? And just to make sure I got all the color off. Now the yellow, I could use the yellow here. Not all the colors, and so I need to add some more because I need to paint with the water. There we go. Not all the colors are going to be as bright and vibrant, but that's part of watercolor, right? Rinsing my brush, I'm going to grab some blue or green, as you can see, and then I just spread it. Now, you'll notice that I have all of this, you know, it's starting, I'm taking over my paper. I want you to see my cup of water. It really should not need to be changed. If you are grabbing a lot of color on here, like this is a ton of blue on this brush, and all I did was have the brush soak up. You can see how much blue is on here. The brush drank that puddle. If I just go right in here, my whole water cup starts to get dirty. So you don't want to put the paint in the cup, you want it to go on your paper. And it should feel like you're painting water. You're just painting puddles. So I'm always grabbing water, I'm dipping it in, and then I get to paint with it, as you can see. And it'll mix really nice on your paper. Now the last thing I want to show you is I will walk around with some salt, and I'm going to sprinkle it in here. I want you to watch what happens. It's be done in, you know, a place that has a lot of water. So if I sprinkle the salt, and I'm not going to do it in all areas on my paper, just areas that are super wet, you know, it's going to absorb those different areas that had the big puddles. And when it dries, it leaves these little snowflake looking effects. So when you're painting today, I want you to remember you can always rotate your paper where you don't want to get this hand dirty. You can always churn it around, but you are always painting with puddles. Always take that brush and you are literally dropping puddles, then grab your color. Look how much paint is on that just by touching it. And then you do this. I really want us to use the salt at the very end or in certain areas that you have it all done, because you just don't want to make the salt rip your paper, okay? Take your time. Once this is done, it goes on the dry rack.